Greetings, and my apologies for the distraction. I wish I knew what it was, but it's almost as if Ginger instinctively knows when I'm about to hit record, and she jumps up here. So, but as soon as I leave, she'll leave. So, without further ado, good Monday morning, August 1st, 2022. What are we talking about today? So, some families, they go to Disney, they go to Florida, they go on camping vacations, whatever the case may be. For our family, we go to GalaxyCon in Raleigh. For those of you that are not familiar, GalaxyCon is a brand. Ah, yikes. GalaxyCon is a brand of comic convention that is basically, they're in Columbus, Ohio, Richmond, Virginia, and Austin, Texas, and of course, Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, in this video, I'm going to basically break down our experience from Friday uh, to include pros and cons, and then I'll make another video separately about Saturday. So without further ado, so we live here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's a little over 2 hours away from Raleigh. With the recent construction they're doing just before you get to Garner, Clayton area, I'm trying to remember if it goes Smithfield Benson or Benson Smithfield. But as you're heading north by northwest on the 40 from Jacksonville, North Carolina, it takes a little over 2 hours to get into downtown Raleigh. So we got up at 5, probably around 6-ish. We were on the road. Stopped off at Dunkin' Donuts for my daughter and my son. My wife and I were taken care of, and made our way up there. Um, Minus a couple of pit stops on the way there, which I'll explain during the con portion of this. We get there, we parked. Um, we found a nice flat rate parking garage, and we made our way to the convention center. We got there early enough to wait in line sometime after 9. No, sometime before 9. So somewhere in between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, we get there. Waited outside in line for about a half an hour. Got into the convention center, got our wristbands, and went downstairs to where the event area is, where all the vendors, the celebrities, so on and so forth. Waited outside for about an hour. Once we got inside, my wife and I basically split apart from the kids and went directly to Tom Welling's line. Uh, I'm trying to think if I should go in order or not. Nah, you know what? Basically, it was inducing vomiting. I can't make this stuff up. The medication was inducing vomiting. So, right before we hit the on ramp to the I-40, we had to make a pit stop so that she could puke. And then periodically throughout the day, she would have to hit a restroom and throw up. So Friday was a bit off for us, just in that sense that whatever the medication was, it was having a bad reaction with my wife. We get into the convention center and it's hot. I don't know if somebody messed with the thermostat, somebody thought it'd be funny to turn the air conditioning off. Hell if I know. It was hot. And here's why. We waited in line for probably over an hour to see Tom Welling. It was just one of those things where I guess it's the nature of the con. It's only my third con, so I wouldn't call myself a con aficionado. But we waited and we got in line. Probably were there for maybe a solid hour before he even showed up. Um, and I was wearing a Ozark Trail cooler backpack I had bought to keep things cold based on our experiences from previous cons. After Friday, we decided against it because it was so hot in there. Well, Saturday they eventually got it fixed, but I digress. Let's get back on track. So everything's fine. You know, as you do, you're in line, you get to meet people, you know, you get to talking because why not? you're in line with these people for a significant amount of time, right? You might as well be nice. Um, and people are people. Some people you could probably get along with, some people maybe not so much. Uh, One theme that's going to be consistent throughout is, well, there's two themes really. One is the VIP line. Look, I get it. You spend your money, all right? You spend a lot of money on your VIP ticket to get your VIP pass, front of the line privileges, etc. Admittedly, from a Gen Pop situation, general admission, it's really, really frustrating, especially when you're very, very close to the front of the line and you're next to be seen and a VIP shows up out of nowhere. Ironically, I don't have as much animosity towards VIPs who were standing in line from the very beginning, waiting, sweating, agonizing with you, for however long it takes for the celebrity to show up. The ones that tend to drive me nuts is when those people who waited in line are gone, the VIP line's empty, and then out of nowhere, some random VIP shows up like, I don't know, like they're king of shit hill. And, I think a lot of it just comes down to the individual personalities and how they conduct themselves. But I digress. I feel like I'm being super serious, right? So it's close to being our turn, and the volunteers are doing a fantastic job. They're managing general admission, VIP, general admission, VIP, so that, it's not just VIPs taking over, right? This one lady is a VIP. She gets in line, and she's ahead of me and my wife, and she's got a gift card receipt and a credit card, and Tom Welling's table is accepting credit cards, so on and so forth. I don't know if it was because it was his first day or what, but Tom's business manager was so awesome. And he was like, okay, we will get this sorted out. And Tom was super cool about it. Here's why I bring it up. First and foremost, it gave my wife and I an opportunity to sit and talk with Mr. Welling, which is a once in a lifetime experience. All right. It may not mean a whole lot to him, but for my wife and I, who were fans of the show for all 10 seasons since day one, that was a real big deal to us. So that was such a treat. So, as his business manager is trying to get this thing figured out, there's people behind us that are just like frustrated beyond belief. More so, there were these two women that were all about how they had just flown in from Studio City, California, and they could not shut up. And I don't mean like your standard issue friendly conversation. They had something negative to say about damn near everything. It was just like, how do I put this? As somebody who tries not to label people, as somebody who tries not to put people in boxes, California's got an awkward reputation right now. All right. For some of us, California has a bad reputation. Most of the celebrities that come to visit are from California. So these two women represent everything that is negative about California, and they're just sitting there bitching and moaning like out loud. Like, trust me, with my hearing loss and everything, if I can hear it, damn near everybody else could hear it. So in the meantime, Tom's business manager is like almost like out of spite, we're going to get this figured out. My wife and I get to talk to Tom. So like it couldn't have worked out any better. And when it was all said and done, not only did we get a selfie, which I'll try to post the selfies, we got an autographed photo. Now, that was all pro. And I got to tell you, having watched previous footage on the internet of Tom at previous panels, all I will say is this. he seems like a changed man. He seems like there was a tremendous weight lifted off of him. Like he's just like a burden has been lifted. He just seemed he was terribly kind, terribly pleasant. He was awesome. That's all I could say. On the con side of the house, the thing that blows my mind, the thing that I can't wrap my head around, is Erica Durance's table was right next to his, and the line for her, or should I say, a lack of line, was beyond comprehension. Because she was on Smallville for 7 out of 10 seasons. She was an integral part because she played Lois Lane. I mean, everybody knows who Lois Lane is. If you know Superman, if you know the whole story, the mythos, and everything, then you know who Lois Lane is. So I could not wrap my head around why so few people seemed interested in Erica Durance. It was, in my opinion, it was insulting. It was insulting to Miss Durance. It was an insult to the show in general. But she couldn't have been any sweeter. She couldn't have been the embodiment of beauty, strength, and kindness. All right. We got a selfie with her and we got an autographed photo of her. After that, we went to go see Giancarlo Esposito. We met him last year. He was phenomenal. He was well worth the wait. He was well worth the money. He's just awesome. To be quite honest, everybody was worth the time. Everybody was worth the money. Nobody was unpleasant. Everybody was awesome. But I hate this, not to compare and contrast, but Giancarlo is just. I don't know if he's new to the con circuit, if he hasn't done a whole lot of them, and I only say that because his level of enthusiasm, his presence, his kindness, it, it, it's just so unexpected. All right. So we got a selfie with him, and like I said, hopefully I'll post those. We got an autograph photo with him, just like we did last year. And because we had personal shirts made of Los Pollos Hermanos, Cook, and then we had a beautiful uh, logo on the back, he asked us where we got them. And we told him that, a friend of ours, a business partner, owns a shop, and she helped us design and create these shirts. He gave us a signed photo to take to our friend Amy for absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just, I don't even know what to say because that's been 2 years in a row our experience with Mr. Esposito. Just awesome. Um, I will say, depending on your thought process, depending on how you measure things, we averaged roughly 90 minutes. I think when you break it down, about 90 minutes, because I think we were in line for right at about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour, waiting for Tom to get there. Then, however long it took, so we probably knocked out a couple hours just on Mr. Welling alone. Insultingly enough, Miss Durance didn't have as many people, so we were able to get right into her line. Uh, because we had waited so long for Mr. Welling and then having seen Mrs. Durance, by the time we got to see Mr. Esposito, we didn't have to wait as long because the initial excitement had kind of um, broken off. Um, Amazingly enough, Katie Sackhoff was a major draw, and her line Friday was just ridiculous. But she was there Saturday, so the one time we tried to get in her line, a volunteer did tell us that it was capped. So we just said, okay, you know what, we'll try and see her Saturday. From there, we went to go see Scott Patterson, who you may or may not know as Luke from Gilmore Girls. God, was he awesome. I mean, you have to understand, part of me anticipated, shit and get. Hey, how you doing? Heh, shit and get. All right. We didn't expect much, if any, of an interaction. And quite frankly, not to sound disappointed, but that was some of our experiences in the previous 2 years. We've gone, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Here you go. Piss off. Um, and I wouldn't say piss off, but like, okay, everybody we met was very kind, very courteous, took the time to speak to us, and you know, I'm going to give myself and my wife credit. We did not want to monopolize their time. We understood that there were other people in line and that the celebrities' time was precious. People waiting in line, their time was precious. So I think there was a mutual respect where, it was like, hey, thank you for coming out. Some pleasantries exchanged. Thank you so much. Some personal anecdote. Thank you very much. And, before you wear out your welcome, we were gone. And I hope others that were there perceived us as not overstaying our welcome for both the celebrity and those waiting in line. That being said, it was like the snowball effect. It just kept picking up volume, picking up steam. It was it was so awesome. We were flying high emotionally. We got to see Scott Patterson. We even got to talk to him for several minutes, more so than you would normally anticipate. And he was just awesome. Not only did we get a selfie with him, but we also got an autographed photo. And then last but not least, after Mr. Patterson, I'm not sure if we took a break to go do something else, but before Friday was over, we got to meet Mr. Harvey Guillen, and we not only got a selfie with him, but we also got an autographed photo, and he was awesome. The 5 people we got to meet Friday were all just phenomenal. I don't know, and I don't know what it's from. I don't know if it's a Southern thing. I don't know if it's a Raleigh thing, a North Carolina thing. I don't know. But all in all, it seemed like everybody there was rather kind and courteous, and the celebrities were just as kind and courteous. Are there rare exceptions? Of course there are. The VIP line is what it is. It. I hate to admit it, but if you're general admission, the VIP line can be a nuisance because you wait in line, and it could be your turn to go. And depending on how the volunteers are managing traffic, technically speaking, as far as I know, unless a volunteer does something different, if a VIP shows up and you're literally like 5 seconds from meeting the celebrity and a VIP takes advantage of a gap, that's what they paid for. Um, so that can be frustrating. At the same time, VIPs are individuals with individual personalities. Some of them were very kind and very courteous, like sorry, just like they felt bad that they were literally cutting the line, even though that's what they paid for. Which what's nice about that is just the recognition. Like, hey, I could be a smug prick about this because I did pay the extra money for this pass, but I also but equally and opposite, I recognize you've been waiting here for a significant amount of time. I can see that you're drenched in sweat. So I'm going to acknowledge your existence and apologize for the fact that I spent all this money. It may seem absurd, but a little kindness can go a long way. Um, as far as other cons go, as far as some of the other cons would be concerned, and I don't mean conventions, I mean pro and con wise. Um, I don't know if I've ever noticed it in previous years, but this year, the one thing that stood out quite a bit was the amount of people that had carts, little like beach trailers, or like duffel bags on wheels or luggage bags on wheels, just an absurd amount of crap that they were carrying with them in the con. And you have to understand, they'll pack us in there like sardines. The line that you wait in to see a celebrity, they put tape on the floor in a serpentine to, try to maximize and minimize, traffic flow and whatnot. And the number of people that showed up with just large containers, all right, of any kind. And you know, I, I didn't get to see it myself, but I did see a handful of people just like unloading a tremendous amount of shit onto the table for the individual celebrity to sign. And I understand all different sides. I understand that some people travel like from great distances. They book flights, check their passport, you name it, and travel from either out of state, out of country, both, to meet these people because as a fan, as a collector, they're trying to round up signatures. I know as a huge fan of Firefly, within like the brown coat nation, it's not uncommon for people to, oh, so and so is going to be somewhere. I don't have their signature. I don't have their photo. So I understand from that perspective. I got to admit, as somebody meeting somebody for the first time and so on and so forth, just watching people unpack and unload this volume of shit, and then what turns into, from my perspective, it turns into a clusterfuck. Okay, because first you got to unpack it, then you got to pack it back up, and you don't know how long the celebrity is willing to sit at the table, or if they can only sit there for a certain amount of time, because then they have to go somewhere else, and all of those seconds add up as you're bumble fucking with all of your shit. I get it. If you're paying per autograph, if every item has a cost, and you're spending hundreds of dollars for these autographs, I get it. It just, from a different perspective, from an outsider's perspective, it was just kind of weird and somewhat off-putting to just watch the clusterfuck take place. Um, so much so, I'll talk about it in my next video about Saturday's experience. Uh, as far as Friday went, all the celebrities were great. Lot of really really awesome cosplayers. I don't know what the deal is with, if it's a Raleigh thing, if it's a GalaxyCon thing. I don't know, but I've seen from other I've seen from other conventions, whether online or whatnot, some cosplayers, guy and girl alike, can get very very risque with their cosplay. I didn't see a whole bunch of that. However, comma, pause for a dramatic effect, maintain positive eye contact. Unless I just am not in the know, what it did seem is though when it came to like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy and perhaps some others from like anime or video games I'm not familiar with, there seemed to be a propensity for women, and I won't judge by age, and I will use the gender identity, but it seemed as though there was a large propensity for women to have their ass hanging out in these particular costumes. Um, it wasn't so many that it was like in poor taste, but as far as risque cosplay went, that was about it. There was a beautiful woman dressed up as Evil Lynn, or at least she looked beautiful dressed up as Evil Lynn. There was a little bit of skin there, but it wasn't like inappropriately risque. There were a few that I saw here and there where there was some side boob. At which point, maybe I'm thinking too much like a father because I'm the father of a 17-year-old daughter, so maybe I'm in full dad mode. But it, it wasn't it wasn't like a it wasn't like a PG porn. Okay, there may have been a couple here and there, but they were far and few between. So I'll leave it at that. On Friday, I did notice a handful of people show up that were attempting to make some sort of socio-political presentation, but they were not generally the norm. Um, so, and I only saw them infrequently. And then, like I said, the air conditioning on Friday was, look, I get it. there's 20, maybe 30,000 plus people crammed into the convention center. Body heat is going to overwhelm the air conditioning unit. But on Friday, it felt like the air conditioner wasn't working. So from previous years, I thought having a backpack cooler would have been a good idea. Friday, based on the air conditioning, it turned out to be a bad idea. My little $10 tripod folding chair was a great idea if and when I had the opportunity to use it. I did strap it to the back of my cooler backpack. That turned out to be problematic. The cooler backpack was also problematic as I was waiting in line to see celebrities because you're crammed in there and the volunteers do cram you in there and you tend to bump into people even though you don't mean to. So if you're a self-conscious individual like myself, you may want to consider how much crap you have on hand when you're getting in line to see a celebrity because they really do cram you in there. And unless you have zero conscience whatsoever and zero social decency, uh, I was not a fan of myself personally bumping into people with my backpack. And then, of course, with the heat, I just eventually chose to take the backpack off. Um, all in all, Friday was a pretty decent experience. Um, the the containers of various make and size just full of crap was obnoxious, and that was both Friday and Saturday. That was terribly obnoxious. um, on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I'm also like, do you not understand the clusterfuck you're creating? The VIP thing, that's going to be a consistency between Friday, Saturday, possibly even Thursday and Sunday. We were not there Thursday, we were not there Sunday. We did not go to any panels. I would say the bulk of our day for my wife and I was spent meeting celebrities. Some celebrities we waited for longer than others, but I would probably have to average it out to roughly 90 minutes per celebrity. If I averaged it out, we probably waited the longest for Tom, second longest for, I'm sorry, we probably waited the longest for Mr. Welling, second longest for Mr. Esposito, probably the shortest for Miss Durrance, and then it probably was a tie between Mr. Patterson and Mr. Guillen, just because of the timing. But when it was all said and done, for my wife and I, the bulk of our day was meeting people, and that was kind of our mission. Previous cons, we always played this game, and my wife blames me mostly for it. I guess in previous cons, I was less than motivated to wait in massive lines for everybody, where I would be like, okay, I absolutely will wait in line for this person, but maybe not for that person. Not this year. We were like, fuck it, we waited in line for everybody. Uh, and unfortunately, I didn't keep like a notepad of like, okay, this long for this long for that. I do remember um, we felt a sense of disappointment with the vendors. Not that the vendors were mean or the vendors were rude, although I'll get to that. Just we felt like something was missing, and we couldn't quite put our finger on it, other than maybe one or two things. Like there was an artist last year that had some prints from Firefly that I really wanted. Uh, like out of the 9 cast members, like he had like 7 of them last year, so I was hoping he'd be back. He wasn't. Just all in all, there were a lot of collectors, whether it was comic books, graphic novels, action figures slash toys, you name it. There were a lot of artists. There was also a separate aisle on both sides completely dedicated to cosplayers. I believe that was a first. Um, we did not indulge in any of the voice actors. We also didn't indulge in any of the wrestlers, although there were plenty of wrestlers there whom I had known from when I did watch it. Uh, but Friday was a good day, other than the AC. Um, Another general theme that'll be consistent throughout is people lacking in social decency, whether they would congregate as like a small little group of people or individually by themselves, but stopping in the middle of major traffic ways, thoroughfares, versus trying to move off to the side or something. Get out of people's way. People being like, "Oh, now's a good place to stop and get on my phone or stop and talk or whatever, stop and congregate." So that was a bit frustrating at times. My daughter said she had a great time talking to cosplayers. My son typically only goes to see what's available to purchase. Otherwise, he's not too terribly interested. They did get to go to a couple of panels, and I've been going for about 30 minutes now. I think it's time for me to shut the hell up and talk about Saturday. So, without further ado, I'm going to close this one out and talk about Saturday. Before I do, uh, if you're new to my channel, um, I close it with this. I don't care if you hit the notification bell. I don't care if you like. I don't care if you dislike. I don't care if you subscribe. I'm usually interested in comments. So in this case, if you went Friday, uh, what did you think? What was your experience? Can you echo any of the same experiences, good, bad, or indifferent? Did you have any different points of view? If you haven't been to GalaxyCon or GalaxyCon Raleigh and you have questions from my personal experience or anybody who may have seen the video, leave them in the comments section. And I promise if you do leave a comment, I will respond. Good, bad, or indifferent. All right. And if you do, you're awesome. Till next time.